Can Harbor Freight's cheapest welder keep up with this 10 times more expensive Miller machine? In this video, I'm going to go over the differences between a cheap machine versus an expensive machine. Our first contestant here is Harbor Freight's cheapest welding machine called the Chicago Electric Flux 125. This is a flux core machine that offers great portability and beginner-friendly setup with some super basic settings. Our next contestant is Miller, coming at you with the Millermatic 135 MIG welder. This machine isn't as portable since you need shielding gas with it, and it's slightly more beefier, but it has a little more adjustability with the settings, so you can really dial this thing in. Both of these machines you can plug right into a regular 120 outlet, so it's pretty ideal for all you hobbyists out there with smaller projects. So let's see what these machines got. Starts off, I want to see what these machines are capable of. Both of these machines are rated up to 3/16 thick material, so let's put them to the test and see if they can weld a 1/4 inch plate. So I'm first starting out with the Miller welder here, so I can give Harbor Freight an even bigger advantage, because one tip I learned is that if you preheat your metal that you're welding together, it helps get better penetration on thicker materials. So basically when you preheat it, you can actually get more out of the machine when you already have it cranked as high as it goes. Now I gave myself one run on each of these machines to see if I need to adjust the wire speed up or down. So instead of using a torch to heat this up, every one of these welds I'm going to be putting down here is going to act kind of like a preheat. And then each time I broke apart the T-joint so I can reuse these pieces. Alright, so I'm starting off with the Miller machine here to pump some heat into the material, just so I can give Harbor Freight the best chance. Alrighty, so I'm decently happy with this weld, but since I had to do it left-handed to get a good shot of me welding, I'm not as consistent as I would be with my right hand, but it'll do. So let's take it to the vise and test out its strength. As I'm cranking on it here, I'm actually really impressed on how well this weld is holding up. And as you can see here, this 1/4 inch plate is absolutely just bending here, and the weld isn't even budging yet. So let's try to flip this thing around and see if we can break this thing off. As I'm cranking on this thing again, I'm still shocked that this weld is still holding up. Even all the way to the very end, I still can't pull them apart by hand after the vise did its work. So I think Miller passed the test here. Let's see what Harbor Freight's got. Now with this machine, while I was welding, I felt like I was struggling way more to keep this weld consistent. So overall, not as impressed with this fillet weld, but it still looks kind of decent. So let's see how the strength is on this weld. As I'm cranking on here, I can feel the pressure of the vise get less and less, and there it goes. Didn't inflate near as much as the Miller did. But looking back, I guess I could have broke out a torch and really heated up the material to get this Harbor Freight machine to weld a little bit better. But I got a good result right out of the gate with the Miller machine. So overall, I think Miller is our winner. Alright, so for this round, let's just stick to a material thickness that is inside the rating for these machines. So I got a couple pieces of angle that are around a 1/16 to 1/8 inch thick. So that should be well within what these machines can handle. Now I'm going to try to set it up so I can do a lap weld and a fillet weld, so we can test out a couple different scenarios. So let's start by just welding each joint with both machines, and then we can compare the results. Honestly, I'm shocked at how similar these lap welds are. It's kind of cool to see a very cheap welder almost get a mere result of an expensive welder. So let's see how they did on the fillet welds. So not as impressed with the Harbor Freight welder here, and I didn't get as consistent results as I did with the Miller. However, I think the strength in this case would make up for the looks, since we're welding within the material thickness rating. Alright, so overall, I was actually really shocked on how well this guy did compared to this guy. And I know I wasn't really comparing apples to apples in this situation because this is a MIG welder versus like a flux core welder, but flux core tends to have a little more penetration than MIG. So I thought it might be a close comparison. Since they're both 110 welders too, that kind of was a pretty close comparison, and they're both rated for the same material thickness. But I was kind of surprised with the Miller how well those welds held up with the thicker material, because a quarter inch is out of that range of material thickness that these things are rated for. So I was very shocked with that. But this thing was a great run up and did really well with those thinner materials. I've welded on Millers for a long time now, and they're always super slick and super smooth running machines, and always had good experience with Millers and always had good success. But this guy was a very close runner up, and I will say this thing performed way better than I thought it would. I was very shocked and surprised on how well it did. But overall, I think this is a good option for all you hobbyists out there and guys just kind of doing it on the side. And if you're just doing something light fabrication that's really thin and don't want to spend a ton of money to kind of get into welding on thinner materials, this thing works really great. But as the saying goes, you kind of get what you pay for most of the time, and with the more expensive machines, you're just going to get a better result at the end of the day. Now, I'm not saying you got to upgrade to a Miller like this. This is a pretty expensive machine, and this is more for like your everyday use guys that are welding all day, every day. These are more your industrial use machines. There's always a range of welders that you can buy. You have your top of the line and your bottom of the line. That's kind of what you have here, the top of the line and the bottom of the line. There's so many welders in between that you can buy out there, so many different brands and stuff. And there's just so many out there that you can buy that are middle of the road that'll do a great job and do what you need to do. So you don't have to go to the most expensive one. It just all depends on who you are and how much you intend on fabricating and welding things together. So it all depends on the situation and what material you're welding together. All right, so that's a wrap. Hope you liked the video, and as always, if you have any questions on any part of the video, just drop those in the comments below. And if you want me to go into detail on any certain part of the welding industry or fabrication industry, or if you want me to go into any detail on any other machines like this, like settings and how to get different machines dialed in, drop those in the comments below if you want me to go into that kind of information and content. But with that being said, hope you liked the video, and we'll see you in the next one.